What I have learned is everything this guy does is monitored, watched, loved, or hated.
Yes.
Last week got real loud.
It did.
Last night, there was a 7-minute rebuttal from the person who we can understand why he was completely upset. Ladies and gentlemen, 4-time NFL MVP, friend of the program, host of Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. Ladies and gentlemen, Super Bowl champion, first ballot Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
How you doing, pal? Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays have certainly caused some conversation, haven't they, Aaron?
Yes. Conversation, controversy, debate sometimes.
Book club,
interesting,
too.
Book club, yeah. A lot of interesting things have come from this show.
Well,
a lot of people that love the show. A lot of people love the show. A lot of people that want to censor the show.
Whoa.
At least my segment.
I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot about that. There's been a lot of articles about calling me reckless. And now this goes back to COVID, by the way. I was being called a murderer alongside of you because I was allowing Aaron Rodgers, first ballot Hall of Famer, the current MVP of the NFL. I was allowing you on my platform. Don't even let him on your platform. You don't think Aaron Rodgers has a platform? Okay, got it. Okay. So I was letting you on my platform, and it was injuring people and scaring people and potentially killing people. That was during COVID. I was getting murdered in different languages.
Killed.
I mean, it was a wild time, as were you, obviously, but I just got a chance to kind of experience it. That whole conversation came back up now, once again, over the last week. You've obviously seen it all, heard it all. You said yesterday at your press conference with the New York Jets where you said, I will be addressing that tomorrow. Jimmy Kimmel obviously had a 7-minute and 32-second diatribe last evening to start the show, kind of explaining his side of the entire thing. A lot of people said they respect more jokes in there.
Yeah.
A little bit more jokes. Sure. Seemed like it was a little bit more of like, he was super bummed out. Just kind of wanted to get it out there. Aaron, I think this is the perfect time for you to kind of address your side of this. You've been threatened to be sued. You've obviously been talked about by a lot of people yet again, and I'm sure you have thoughts on it. The mustache looks great. Go ahead and take it away, pal. And I want to let you know, I will check you, okay?
Damn right.
I will check you, okay, on anything you say that I know isn't true. Now, there's going to be a lot of stuff you say that I'm all Just let me know if I should check you, please, with what you're talking. You have more research than me. Anyways, Aaron Rodgers, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, the research, that's a whole nother story. I mean, why would you do any research on anything, ever look into anything? Listen, I think we should just get into it, though, just so we can have the woke establishment who's just tuned in for, this part. Let's just get this out of the way first, then they can move on with the rest of the day, and we can all move past this. It's been an interesting week for sure. Very interesting week. A lot of things have been said. A lot of people have been taking shots at me without mentioning their vax status first, which I thought we established with Ryan Fitzpatrick. That was how we're going to do things moving forward. We haven't done that, obviously. So,
Nick
listen,
Wright,
jokes aside, I want to.
Nick Wright did.
Yep.
Nick Wright did. I heard Nick Wright.
Yeah. Listen, jokes aside, I'd really like to get into this and then let's just move on. So, the history of this, before I get into what I said, what I actually said, and how I feel about all that, the history of this, whatever this is between Jimmy and I, this goes back to COVID times, right? And in COVID times, he mentioned on his show jokes about my immunization, which I know you also made a little joke about it. I'm not going to get into that whole thing. I've talked many times about that, but I made a joke about that. And the fact that my own research. He didn't just stop there, though. He made a lot of other comments about unvaccinated people, mentioning that they don't deserve treatment. If they're at a hospital, they shouldn't be given a hospital bed. He made comments about repurposed drugs that were being used all over the world that have incredible safety profiles that were derogatory. He mentioned ivermectin being horse-based and pushed that whole narrative for a long time. He gave a platform to one of the biggest spreaders of misinformation during the COVID times, Dr. Fauci. So in my opinion,
Jeez.
He ripped me about the vax, and that turns out to be an L on many occasions because the vax was not safe and effective like we were told that it was in the beginning. There are a lot of injuries now that we've seen related to the vaccine. So, in my opinion, you went after me. That's fine. You're a comedian. Go for it. Not offended, but that was an L. Fast forward to uh, again, unprompted. We're talking on our show as we do about a lot of different topics. Somehow the Epstein client list comes up. And I said, it's interesting. And there were for a long time, even still, there hasn't been a list that's been released. There's been one person's, uh, you know, deposition from a 2015 case, right? But we said there's an excitement to expose corruption. And what I joked about the other day about popping a bottle, there's excitement about when the corruption anywhere gets exposed and people who are accused of these heinous crimes get exposed. That will be nice that we can get this all out in the open. That's not there. So I made this comment on the show whenever that was last year, right? I believe. And then unprompted, he comes out and says that I'm an overly concussed wacko. In my opinion, it seemed like because I believe that there was a list and that there were names on that, right? So, then we fast forward to this last week, right? And I said that a lot of people, and I'm quoting myself here, a lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't come out. End quote. That's what I said. That's the entire quote. Okay. I was referring to the fact that if there is a list, which again, this hasn't come out yet, this was just a deposition, right? And there are names on it, then that would be the second time that a soft brain junior college student, wacko, anti-vax, anti-Semite, purveyor, spreader of misinformation, conspiracy theorist, MAGA, whatever other things have been said by him and other people in the media would be right twice. Now, let me just say that is the truth, number one. Number two, I totally understand how serious an allegation of pedophilia would be. So for him to be upset about that, I get it. Did you watch the quote? Because that's exactly what I said. Verbatim what I said on the show. Okay? I'm not stupid enough, even though you think I'm an idiot, and you made a lot of comments about my intelligence, but I'm not stupid enough to accuse you of that with absolutely zero evidence, concrete evidence. That's ridiculous. So I'm glad, and I think we can agree on something, is that one, those crimes are heinous, and two, I'm glad you're on the list because those who are on the list, and this is what I think we can agree on, that at minimum there should be an inquiry into their involvement, especially if they went to the island, and at maximum there should be an investigation into it. So I hope that you'll give the same type of energy to these heinous crimes when they do come out and the names do come out and there is an inquiry into it that you gave to other subjects that I actually mentioned that you spent a lot of time working on. So I'd like to put this to bed to move forward. I don't understand, to just finish this up. I do understand. But I don't understand a Mike Voss comment because he didn't help out either. And I'm going to quote Mike Voss. He said, Aaron made a dumb and factually incorrect joke about Jimmy Kimmel. It should never have happened. We all realized that in the moment. Mike, you're not helping. You're not helping because I just read earlier exactly what I said. So, and this is the game plan of the media, and this is what they do. They try and cancel. And it's not just me. It's nowhere near just me. I mean, if you look at all the different people who've been censored from the internet especially during COVID, the canceling that went on, the censorship, using the government to try and censor people that happened. And if that doesn't work, then they go to name calling. I mentioned a lot of the names that I've been called, and they don't stick because I'm not anti-vax. I'm interested in informed consent and things that are in the best interest of my body. I'm not a MAGA. I've never had any affiliation with anybody associated with that movement, right? Which is okay if you are, though. Like there's different opinions all over the place, right? If you're that's your ideology, that's fine. I'm not a super political person. Okay, do whatever you want. Conspiracy theorists, that's fine, because if you look at the track record of conspiracy theorists in the last few years, they've been right about a lot of things. So I don't care about that one. Anti-Semite, that was called. I mean, that's just like this is their game plan. They use these words to cancel people, and they went and ran with this because it's the crazy anti-vaxxer wacko again, talking about accusing somebody of being a pedophile. Like, of course, this is the game plan that they use. Incorrect, but that's the environment that we're in. There's a lot of people who have been captured by various entities, government entities, whether we're talking about pharmaceutical industrial complex or whether we're talking about believing that the government has a best interest in mind and we're puppeting various narratives. In the end, if you are not someone whose opinion aligns with the mainstream narrative, this is what they're going to do with you. And it's not me. I'm not a victim. I don't give a shit. Say whatever the hell you want about me. That's fine. Like the people that know me and love me, you know what I'm all about. My teammates know what I'm all about.
Most
I don't
inspiring
have,
teammate.
like
Most
I've never
inspiring teammate, by the way.
mentioned.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Won an award in the middle of this whole thing from your teammates. Prima donna,
People puked.
obviously.
Some people puked because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw a guy cry.
But listen,
Saw a guy cry because you were named the most inspirational teammate.
Should we say?
That was not like joy,
Listen.
tears of joy.
I still, in the end, to sum this up, listen, I still haven't popped a bottle because there hasn't been any list that's come out. And I'm glad that Jimmy is not on the list. I really am. And I don't think he's the P word. And I think it's impressive that a man who went to Arizona State and has 10 joke writers can read off a prompter. So, my education at JUCO and my 3 semesters at Cal that I'm very proud of has worked out for me, and I'm glad to see it's worked out for him as well. So I wish him the best. Again, I don't give a shit what he says about me. But as long as he understands what I actually said and that I'm not accusing him of being on a list, then I'm all for moving forward.
All right. Thank you for your time there. Thank you for addressing it.
Hell yeah.
There's a few things that I'm going to have to check you on in there. Okay, as you're going
Please
through,
do.
as you're going through there, I was making a checklist for the CNBC folks, the whole crew. You said that Anthony Fauci was the biggest spreader of misinformation. I remember he was throwing out opening pitches terribly, worst of all time. And he was the guy. He was the one giving the information. And then he said that's proven to be wrong. I assume you're referring to some studies or something that you have found, and obviously you've invested a lot of time in because you've been called a murderer, a killer for not getting the vaccine. I assume you've paid close attention. If you would like to expand upon that particular statement that you made early in your response there, I think that'd be good for all parties.
I don't know if he wants me to, but yeah.
This is what I'm supposed to.
Oh yeah.
Right? Ain't I supposed to?
Yes, this is journalism.
Let me indulge you. First of all, there are dozens of studies that talk about that have done by reputable places that have been published in reputable journals that talk about a variety of different subjects, including the efficacy of masking, efficacy of lockdowns, efficacy of a number of different medicines, repurposed medicines, antiviral, anti-malaria medicines, stuff that was used all over the world. In order for the vaccines to get emergency use authorization, right, the EUA, this is what people don't understand. It had to be that there were 0 early treatments that worked against COVID, right? So what did Dr. Fauci say? There was nothing. There was nothing they could do. All they did. This is the protocol. Somebody gets sick, right? Send them home till they got really horrible symptoms, and then bring them back and put them on remdesivir, which is $3,000 per dose, and a ventilator. And the statistics are staggering about people who went, especially on ventilators, especially the elderly, and it's devastating and extremely sad.
I remember those times people weren't allowed to go into the hospital and see their family, right? I mean, that was at the very.
And I know it's crazy, and this is maybe an old way of doing things, but I enjoy reading, and when I'm reading something, I may be delivering a message, but I'm not delivering it as my own. I didn't come up with any of these facts. I wasn't in the weeds. I'm not a epidemiologist, a virologist. I'm not any of those things. I'm just someone who's interested in certain topics. I like to read, and then I take other people's ideas and opinions and contemplate them and think about whether they're true or not, what feels true to me, and then I'll make my own beliefs off of that. I know it's a weird way of thinking, and the idea of even like doing your own research was vilified for a while, which is crazy. But I enjoy reading. I read studies about this. I've read books. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s book about Fauci is incredible. It's also uh, doesn't paint him in the right light. I haven't seen Dr. Fauci file a lawsuit yet. I know RFK Jr. personally. I know he researched and made sure that his comments and studies were uh, peer reviewed by a number of different people so that you don't get sued. But it doesn't paint him in the best light. And yes, I believe that he had a financial incentive to not push ivermectin and HCQ and monoclonal antibodies and zinc and vitamin D and vitamin C, all stuff that was used all over the world. I'm talking about in Japan, in Brazil, in Mexico, in Uttar Pradesh, in India, a state that has 230 million people, and at one point had less than like 10 COVID cases active when we were having thousands every single day. Like, look at Africa. The continent of Africa had very low numbers, and many people think that Africa, there's parts of it that are very third world, right? But what do they do? Most of them, the part of their routine is to take anti-malaria drugs. And when you get into a pandemic, this is, again, all I've read. I'm not a virologist. I'm not a doctor, right, in the sense. But I am interested, and I've read these things. And they take a lot of anti-malaria drugs over there because malaria is a problem in Africa. And anti-malaria drugs, repurposed in the repurposed nature of them, have been seen to stop viral replication and actually do well against COVID. But if that were the case, then these billion-dollar vaccines, one of which in particular, Dr. Fauci had a significant financial stake in, wouldn't have been cleared for EUA. And they would have been able to be pushed out. They would have to go through the normal process of vaccines, which is multi-year studies
Okay.
of efficacy, to develop a safety profile. That didn't happen. So that's my problem. I don't know why more people aren't upset with that. Everybody who lost people to COVID, everybody who dealt with the draconian measures, and that's my last point. And then I just want to fucking move on. But it's like people are always like, why are you still talking about COVID? Like, why don't you just move on? It's ridiculous. I'm like, well, let's see what happened. They locked everybody up forever. It was supposed to be a couple weeks, right? They locked everybody up. Hundreds of thousands of businesses closed and never opened again. Many of dozens of people that I know in their 30s, who poured everything into these small businesses and restaurants and bars and never opened again. So they lost everything. They're out on their ass, right? The wealth gap got even bigger from the haves and have-nots. They lied to us over and over. They vilified early treatments. They censored legitimate doctors in the space, like Dr. Peter McCullough, like Dr. Corey, like Dr. Robert Malone, who allegedly was there in the beginning of the mRNA technology, and so many more people than that. The Alex Berensons of the world, the Weinsteins of the world, who were like writing about this, talking about this. Brett Weinstein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was about to say, I
and
knew that. I
and
was about to check you on
and,
that. I thought it
and
was,
had an informed opinion about this. I mean, they were arresting people who were surfing in California. They closed the beaches. When 80, I mean, I don't know what percentage, but probably 60% or more of the country is vitamin D deficient. And vitamin D, does well against the common cold, as does vitamin C,
what?
as does zinc, as does the number of home remedies that we all have. But no, stay inside, wait for this vaccine,
All right.
which is 100% safe and effective, which they told us. So my whole point is, listen, they lied to us many times over. They locked us up. They closed our businesses. They increased the mental health issues exponentially. The rates of suicide went way up, and they're just like, they vilified us. The draconian things that the ridiculous
Uh-oh.
shut down. We lost billions of dollars. It's not there's no NFL owners who are mad about this now that we look back and go, oh, well, maybe we could have stopped this with a little like early treatments, or like not giving remdesivir and a ventilator to these patients. Maybe like treat it like the common cold, where you have symptoms and you start doing something about it. You treat it, and yeah, I have a problem with that because now people are just like, oh, just move on, just brush it under the rug. It's like, well, I have many apologies, not by that guy in ABC, and not by any of these people who are still, I mean, the LA County, we just put mask mandates back in.
Oh, buddy.
I mean, how many studies have we seen now from all over the world that show the lack of efficacy of masks?
Hey, real
What
quick.
are we talking about?
Real quick, your usage of efficacy today has really showcased your intelligence. I want to let you know that. You've used it in a phenomenal fashion. I assume you did it because you have become the paragon of conspiracy theories from all these people. And
I feel like my intelligence has been attacked, and I might need to grab my my transcript that I used to get into junior college.
Well, you had
Just
two
show that
A's
I
on that
actually
in
did
your name,
okay
Aaron.
on
I
it.
thought that was pretty clever, actually. I will say. And I did check you there, which obviously seems like you have a little bit more research than maybe any other human that exists outside of the potential doctors that you were there.
There's way more people who are well read, and I read their stuff. But one of my favorite things, and I'll end with this, and I promise I don't want.
No, there's one more thing I have to.
Okay, well then let me get this in. Like, people are always like, "You're not a doctor. You're not a virologist. You're not an epidemiologist." I'm like, I'm not. But you know what all those people would say? Natural infection and recovery gives you way more robust, lasting, sometimes for life, immune response than any vaccine will ever give you.
All right. Well, I appreciate the bars there at the end from the virologists and the doctors. I thought you were going to say neither are you, the people that are telling you that you're wrong. That's always a fun little give and take. And I assume there's going to be a lot of reaction to what you just said there. Drop the word draconian in there a few times. That felt like it was big. I assume people are going to respond to that.
Well, honestly, fact check it. I'm fine. Let's have a debate. You want to have a debate about it? Awesome. Not on this show, but like, let's have a conversation. There should be more conversation. Why are we just moving on from all this stuff when, like, can we look back now and learn from this so the next time there's a situation like this, we can go, okay, maybe there's early treatments that work. Maybe we don't just run a vaccine through that isn't safe and effective. And then how many boosters? I just saw they're encouraging the elderly to get an 8th booster. Like,
Howard Stern got COVID too. Howard Stern got COVID. Which,
it didn't stop transmission at all. It didn't stop you from getting COVID. Like,
all right. Well, I appreciate your stance, especially
but
because
fact check me one more time, and then let's move on.
All right, sounds good. Then we got football to talk about because there's a lot of things happened. Vrabel just got fired.
Oh, yeah.
And Vrabel's pumped that we just brought that up in the middle of this conversation. But like the reason why you feel the way you feel is because everything that you've been through this entire thing. You were chastised pretty heavily, which I assume made you invest a lot more time in it to kind of not only clear your name, but feel a little bit sense of self whenever everybody was telling you you're the worst human on earth. And there's going to be people that disagree with you. And I think this conversation and this show is actually a great place to go ahead.
I was vilified. My character was attacked. My reputation was attacked. My sponsors were attacked. I received death threats. So yeah, I mean, why does it mean a lot to me? Because I went through that and survived the winter of death. So continue.
Well, congratulations. AJ is also a COVID survivor on the other side of the screen there, which we are incredibly proud of him. I believe I survived a few times as well. When it comes to Jimmy Kimmel, and you read your quote, and I think in the moment I even explained, like, hey, Jimmy did this, did that. It immediately got taken by everybody seemingly. And now, once again, you are a human that goes off the grid in 2024. I don't think a lot of people really understand that. You actually went into a dark hole for 4 days. I mean, that is something that happens. He does just read books, and he's impossible to get a hold of. You can ask some people. So the way that whole thing went with you saying, like, Jimmy Kimmel doesn't want to see that list. And I think people that maybe have watched the show a lot recalled the moment between you and Kimmel whenever he said, like, okay, buddy. And then you saying you want to see. It was insinuated, though, that you called him a pedophile by everybody quickly. So I think you could, and you've acknowledged this, like, Jimmy Kimmel has been called a pedophile, I think, by a lot of people because his name has been on one of those lists on the internet for a long time. So I think you stoking the flame a little bit there made the entire world continue to turn up on him. I think that's why he got so bummed out by it all.
And that sucks. And I condemn that 100%. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, any type of name calling, that's ridiculous. And I'm not calling him one, and neither should you. So it's not backing me up or making me feel good if you're doing that. Let me make that crystal clear. I don't take any fucking, excitement or joy out of anybody doing that.
Give me two.
So don't do that in my name. Don't do that at all. Like, those are serious accusations meant for people who are on the list. And again, there was some names that came out recently from a deposition from 2005, but there's still flight logs. There's still a lot of other things that are going to come out. And this corruption goes deep, I believe, and most people that probably looked at it believe that it goes deep. But I'm not calling him one. No one should. Don't do it in my name. Like, that's not cool. I'm not about that. And I have no love for anybody doing any of that shit.